Hello, this is an abbreviated video to accompany the Technology Tuesdays presentation given in October 2011 on essential technology tools for teaching. My name is James Moore and I'm going to share 10 essential technology tools that you can see on screen. The first one is Desire to Learn, our learning management system, which can be accessed at d2l.depaul.edu. I believe everyone at DePaul should be using D2L, at least for the basics. Those basics are the ability to send email to your students, to share documents, to use the discussion board for out-of-class discussion, to allow your students to upload documents through the Dropbox, and quizzes to assess and test your student learning through the duration of the course. I could talk for quite some time about D2L, but I just want to share one quick tip. And that is the fact that you can find out whether your students have been looking at the material in content. The way that you do this in D2L is to click on Content. On the left-hand side of the screen, you'll see a link that says Reports. Clicking on that will show you information on content viewed by user or content viewed in aggregate. However, there's much more information out there for you to fully utilize Desire to Learn. There are workshops and consultants that can be had by visiting fits.depaul.edu. There's also a series of online tutorials that DePaul's Teaching Commons puts out. So if you go to teachingcommons.depaul.edu/technology/D2L, you will find those resources. Tool number 2 is Google Reader. Google Reader is an RSS aggregator, and I think this is an incredibly valuable asset to any educator. Here are some of the ways that I think you can use this effectively. The first is to aggregate RSS alerts that allow you to either be more responsive to elements of research or more responsive to items that will affect the way that you teach. One of those is YouTube. YouTube pushes out videos, and it could be that these videos either contain research that you're going to be using in your classes, or if you're feeling somewhat paranoid and cynical, there is the chance that your students may be putting videos on there that highlight you or your class. Many students have mobile digital devices and from time to time may record something that you would particularly wish that they hadn't. Anyway, using these RSS alerts that you can see on the screen, you can add these to Google Reader and you'll be aware of good or bad things happening in your research and life. Where you see insert tag name or insert URL encoded search term here or insert username here, those are areas where you would replace that particular element with a word or a tag or a search phrase of your choosing. By adding that to Google Reader, you will be updated almost instantly when somebody adds something to YouTube with those features. I'll show you a little bit later how that may look. We can use a similar option with Flickr. Flickr has tags that can be applied to the images that are put on the site. So we could use a comma delimited list of tags to identify images that are uploaded there. We can take the same approach on Wikipedia. If there's a page within Wikipedia that you would like to know when it's being changed, by replacing where I have page title here on screen, you will be updated every time somebody's made that change to Wikipedia. Twitter allows us to do the same thing. At the end of this search term here it says Q equals to Paul. This could be replaced with a word of your own choosing and used to create an RSS alert on Google Reader. At the moment, Google Reader also allows you to share items. This feature may be disappearing, unfortunately, but this is a way that you can share content that you view on Google Reader with your students or colleagues that you work with. All you need to do is just click on the Share Item option next to a post in Google Reader, and that will then be either publicly or privately available for those who follow you. And then the last thing you can do to, I think, properly leverage Google Reader is to be aware of the various apps that are available on mobile devices. For example, I'm using Reader, which is an application on Mac OS X, but also available on the iPhone and the iPad. This allows me to read items from Google Reader, and if I see something that I want to use, perhaps in a blog post or a tweet, I can very easily click a button within that interface and then share it out to my students or a designated readership. It's a great way to share information very quickly. That being said, what I'd like to do now is just jump out of this and show you how things might look in Google Reader. So these are the various YouTube alerts that I've created, and what these allow me to do is to see when various folks have updated something to YouTube that I'm particularly interested in. So here I'm seeing various streams where DePaul University or DePaul has been used as a tag. So this is a way I could quickly respond to this type of information. I've done the same thing here with Flickr. So these are images that have been uploaded to Flickr with the word DePaul applied as a tag or description. Over here, this is showing me how people are updating DePaul University's page on Wikipedia. So if this was something that I needed to be aware of changes, this would allow me to be alerted to somebody updating that information, and I could then decide to go in and either correct or change what's going on. And then lastly, same thing here with Twitter. This is showing me folks who've posted or tweeted with the word DePaul. So here's some good news, or perhaps not good news, but anyway. I could then decide to respond appropriately to these. Continuing the theme of Google, the next technology tool I'd like to share is Google+. The website for that is plus.google.com. This is Google's social network. It competes to a certain degree with Facebook, but it has a considerably smaller set of users. There are two notable features why I think it's useful to educators. The first one is circles. Google Plus has what I think is a very elegant way of describing and deciding who is going to be in an immediate group following your posts. By using circles, you can decide exactly who sees the posts that you put up on the network. So you could post specifically for certain student groups and know that folks outside of those circles would not be able to see your posts. The second area is a thing called Hangouts, which is a video conferencing system that allows up to 10 participants. Skype is a technology tool that I recommend, but I think Hangouts is superior in the respect that it allows more people to video conference concurrently. It's definitely something to be aware of, and quite often I recommend this for breakout sessions or small student projects. It's also a great way for you to communicate with your students when a group has a question for you. This allows a group of a significant size to video conference with you. Worth looking into. Next tool is Evernote, which can be downloaded from evernote.com. Evernote is a cloud service, and again I could talk for quite some time about it, but here are the salient features. Evernote is a note-taking service that synchronizes in the cloud, but it also saves locally. So this means you can have multiple devices, cell phones, laptops, desktop machines, in which you capture your notes. Those notes are saved locally, so even if you do not have a connection to the internet, that information is saved there. But when you access the internet, that information is synchronized across all devices. So from the perspective of somebody who researches on a laptop and then collates their information on a desktop and then teaches in a different location, this software, Evernote, would allow you to have your information essentially in one location, which I think is very helpful to educators. A couple of the other things that you can do with Evernote: it has a built-in optical character recognition system. So anything that you scan, and Evernote allows mobile devices to use their cameras to scan or take a picture of an image, that will turn that into digital text. Again, very useful to anyone who is researching something. Imagine visiting a library, taking a photograph of a picture within a book there, and then that picture is converted into digital text for you. Lastly, you can share your notes. This can be done publicly or privately. So from the education perspective, you could either have a subset of notes that you share with a class you're teaching, or conversely, your students could have a set of notes that they share with you or a group that they're working with. Next tool is Skype. I mentioned this in passing when I spoke about Google+. Skype is a voice over IP system that also supports video conferencing. Here's the way that you can use it in the classroom. There's two devices you need: a Snowball mic, which you can pick up for about $60, and a USB drive. Here's the reason I recommend the Snowball microphone. It has two major settings. One is omnidirectional. That means it captures audio from all around the device, or cardioid, where it captures audio from an area directly in front of the microphone. This USB device you can plug into a computer in the classroom, and with a USB drive with the portable version of Skype residing on there, you now have a video conference system that you can bring to any classroom at DePaul. This will allow you to bring in guest speakers. If you visit the Technology Tuesdays web pages, you'll see a more detailed explanation of how you can do this, which you can download as a PDF. The next tool is the Sansa Clip. There's about 3 iterations of this hardware device at the moment, and this is an MP3 player that allows you to record audio. Here's why I think it's worthwhile. The device has a microphone at the top and a USB port on the side. The USB port allows you to charge the device, but it also allows you to move your recordings off there onto a computer. And this device can capture a huge amount of audio. If you go with the cheapest device, which is about 1 gig capacity, this will store about 5 to 6 hours of audio. Moving up to about 8 gig, you're carrying around potentially 48 hours of recorded audio. The other way that this device I think is superior to some of the typical classroom recording solutions is it gets past the fixed microphone problem. If you think about a classroom that has microphones hanging from the ceiling or from one device in a corner of the room, as you move around the room, you get louder and quieter. If the microphone is affixed to you, as you move around the room, you don't have that issue. And the Sansa Clip has a nice little clip on the back that you can clip to a shirt, hence the Sansa Clip name. But this also pushes you into changing some behavior. If you are recording yourself, it's a good idea to say something like, "Let me repeat that," or "Your observation was," when a student asks you a question, because their question may not be captured on the recording. You definitely want to tell the students in your syllabus that you're recording the class so they know in advance, and also warn that sometimes technology fails, so that your recordings may not always be available. The recording process is fairly straightforward. At the start of your class, you'll switch on the device, start recording, you'll talk, and then switch things off. You may want to consider creating parts 1, 2, 3, etc. if you have breaks in your class. It's always a good idea to do this because this prevents you from recording embarrassing things like a student question during the break that's of a personal nature, or if you head off to a bathroom break. Editing again is fairly straightforward. What I would suggest is you plug this device into your computer, import the WAV file from the Sansa Clip, and then trim that in a program like Audacity, which you can download free of charge on the web. You'll then export this as an MP3 file, and if you wish, add metadata. Now, here are some of my suggestions for naming conventions. I would use something along this lines that identifies this recording, particularly because you may be accumulating a series of recordings as you teach a class, and it's a good idea to name in an effective manner. The other thing that you may wish to do here is to add metadata. This is information that may show up on a program like iTunes that allows somebody to know what's within a file before they open it. Exporting as an MP3 file will reduce the size of the file. If you had a 1-hour recording which may be about 175 megabytes in size, if you export that as an MP3 file, you'll get that down to around 50 megabytes in size, so this is worth doing. In terms of sharing the information, you could do this through iTunes U, which allows you to upload files to our version of iTunes. Free, easy to use. The person to speak to if you want to create an account is Diane Tarkowski, or you can contact me direct and I'll sort out the details for you. Tool 7 is Dropbox. Dropbox is another cloud service. Two reasons why I think it's useful to educators. The first one is the synchronization mode. If you think about it, you're probably working on multiple machines during the course of the week. You probably have a machine in your office, you probably have at least one machine at home, and maybe you have a laptop, a mobile machine. Chances are you have data that's stored locally on one of those machines, and from time to time you realize that, oh, I wish I'd brought that with me because I could work on this at home or on the road. Well, what Dropbox does is it synchronizes that content. If you describe a folder on your machine as being a synchronized folder, the contents of that folder will be automatically synchronized for you by Dropbox in the background. So anything you put in that one folder will appear on the relative folder on your other machines. So this is a great benefit, I think, to educators. The second use is basic cloud storage. It just means there's a place on the web where you can put stuff that can be accessed by others, either publicly or privately. So this could be used as a space for students to send you large files that you prefer not to go through Desire to Learn, or this could be a place where you collaborate on a project with other educators. Tool number 8 is the VLC Media Player. Basically, this is a Swiss Army knife of video players. Plays pretty much anything. You'll find quite often that although this software is useful, it's not installed on most work machines at DePaul due to licensing restrictions. However, you can download this to a USB drive. If you follow the link at the bottom of the page, this will allow you to install it on a USB drive that you take with you anywhere. Plug this into a Podium PC, you can play any type of video. Tool number 9 is Zamza. Zamza is a cloud service that converts files. So if you think about the situations where late Sunday night somebody has sent you a file that you would really desperately want to open, but it's in a format that's not recognized by the computer that you're working on, well, Zamza may be able to convert this for you. It'll convert documents, images, music, video, ebooks, compressed files, and CAD formats. Be aware that it's a cloud service, so I would think cautiously about sending data that has restricted information, student grades, that type of thing. Something that you don't really want to leave the DePaul environment. But for files outside of that sort of risk, this might be a useful service for you. It's a freemium product. Under 100 megabytes, they'll convert something for you free of charge. Larger than that, you choose to pay for the service. And then tool 10, USB drives, sort of mentioned in passing during this video. There are many free portable applications that you can download and install to a USB drive. Two sites here, Windows Portable Apps and OS X Portable Apps. This is a way that you can install Office programs, file conversion programs, HTML editors, all the valuable content that you may need on the road or in the classroom, you can install to your USB drive. You can also install a version of Linux, so if your machine dies, it would be possible, if your machine supports booting from a USB drive, to boot into Linux and access an important file that you need. So a great technology tool to have. Anyway, that was a condensed version of Essential Technology Tools for Teaching.